We have a situation where this country has been driven by the Tea Party for the last number of years.
Thought they had no power.
When I was in school, I studied government, and I learned about the anarchists. Now, they were different than the Tea Party because they were violent, but they were anarchists because they did not believe in government at any level, and they acknowledged it. The Tea Party kind of hides that.
We don't hide anything.
They don't say we're against government. But that's what it all amounts to. They're not doing physically destructive things to buildings and people, but they are doing everything they can to throw a monkey wrench into any form of government, whether it's local, whether it's state or federal government. That's what it's all about. And so anything they can do to throw a monkey wrench in the wheels of government, they're happy doing that. And I'm sorry to say my friend from Oklahoma is helping them. Maybe not directly, but indirectly, and that's wrong. Government is not inherently bad. Government is inherently good. That's why we have a constitution, and that's what we direct the activities
all right, that's
of
good.
Government.
Now let's just be clear. Government historically has been inherently bad. Big government especially. And they're at odds with the Bill of Rights and Constitution on every front. I mean, Obama across the board, whether it's Pulitzer Prize winner Chris Hedges, who's a real liberal, saying he's twice as bad as Bush to the Constitution, or whether you're Pat Buchanan, a real right-winger. I mean, anybody with half a brain cell knows that the Democratic Party is power-grabbing with the help of the Republican leadership like nothing we've ever seen. And all over America, this is the new civil rights movement. They want us to fight with each other and say the new civil rights movement is, to teach your 5-year-old how to have sex. No, that's a way to corrupt them. No, the basic civil rights is the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, based on biblical rights, based on common law, thousands of years old. And joining us is Terry Holcomb. He's a pastor and board member of Texas Open Carry who went on a walk through Huntsville carrying his Bushmaster in an effort to raise public awareness. And now, I saw it on the video, was arrested for carrying one in downtown Austin on the Capitol grounds. And then Rachel Malone is a firearms freedom activist and is a legislative director of Texas firearmsfreedom.com, a group dedicated to the preservation and protection of Second Amendment rights. And I appreciate your amazing stand, your courage. People are doing this everywhere. One thing they do, as the Attorney General said, we got to brainwash the public against guns. That's why they have TV ads and show billboards showing revolvers and shotguns, saying, report illegal guns. So I had a carpet cleaner guy try to call the cops on me because of a gun case. They literally believe that guns were illegal. This is part of the fraud. You guys are breaking that fraud with the truth, but the police don't care. And at least in many areas. In many areas, they are patriotic and aware. So Terry and Rachel, thanks for coming on and joining us. Tell us what happened to you Friday and what's been ongoing.
There's a lot that hasn't... Everybody's seen the arrest, but they didn't see what happened prior to the arrest. We had actually started out setting up a meeting with the State Preservation Board, John Sneed, Commander Ortiz of Department of Public Safety, Capitol Police, the Major of DPS, and the Sergeant of Arms of the House and the Senate. Setting up a meeting, setting up this event, trying to work with law enforcement, working with the State Preservation Board, trying to...
So this was even officially set up?
That is correct.
Wow, and they still... Whoa.
Yes, sir. And
now, this is news. Break all this down.
Yes, sir, it is. And we haven't exactly communicated this, so this is breaking news, really. We'd initially wanted to go into the Capitol, and our original agreement that we were able to forge was we would enter the Capitol without ammo. We would carry our long guns in, and we agreed to go in without any ammo. They had agreed to that initially. About 2 days before we were set to meet with them in Austin on last Monday, Department of Public Safety decided that they no longer wanted to allow us to enter open carrying long guns. So, okay, we had, agreed to disagree.
Because you're an evil citizen slave. I mean, the idea of you, now Kim Jong-un in North Korea, that's safe to have guns.
Understood.
Hitler with guns, but not a citizen.
It gets better.
By the way, as you know, until the 50s, people used to take guns into court, but go ahead.
That's correct. And you are allowed to conceal carry in Austin, too, so at the Capitol. So we agreed that we wouldn't go inside the building. We were extending professional courtesies to the State Preservation Board and DPS, and so we agreed just to go have a peaceful appreciation. We wanted to, you know, be thankful for.
They have all those statues of Davy Crockett and people with their guns.
Absolutely.
Well, those must be cut down immediately. So.
Absolutely, and so when I get there, and I have two fellow board members with me on Friday morning.
By the way, because this got spun that you guys were going looking for trouble. That's the classic spin. She was wearing a short skirt. She deserved to be raped. But now we learn it was an official deal you were trying to do to cement the Second Amendment. Because the media, I saw, are spinning, oh, they set up cops who didn't know the law that arrested you.
They absolutely knew we were coming. In all fairness, I didn't tell them I was going to be carrying a black powder pistol, but that's an irrelevant issue. I got arrested for carrying a black powder pistol, not a long rifle. So we get there about 10:30 in the morning, and we park in a parking garage, and I don't get one block, and 3 DPS officers stop me. That's the first encounter. The officer wanted to know why I had the black powder pistol, didn't say anything to the AR-15 standing on my right and my left.
And again, it's a slave with a gun. That image is like a high noon to a vampire.
Absolutely. I told him I was carrying the weapon for self-protection, just like he was. And he said, you're not allowed to carry it like that. I handed him the Texas Penal Code 4601 that exempts black powder pistols that were made before 1899 or replicas of black powder pistols that were made before 1899. I had an 1858 Remington.
And you and the video's up on the site. You show him all this.
Absolutely. And I hand him the Texas Penal Code. He reads it. He says, okay, you giving me yours, let me go get mine. All right, so he goes and gets it. And he comes back, he says this. He says, okay, we've established it's legal for you to carry it.
It's on video. He's holding both things up, reading them.
Yes, sir. And he says, we've established that it's legal to carry it. He said, but let me say this, I'm alarmed.
Well, I'm alarmed by them with guns and us not having them.
Absolutely.
So the idea is because he's alarmed, what, can he have your house next because he's alarmed? Can he have your bank account because he's alarmed?
We need to get everybody off the road because every time I get on the road, I'm alarmed.
Exactly.
At this point, I saw it was going to go into a bad direction.
I'm alarmed going to Chicago because they don't have any guns and the crime rate's, what, 10 times Austin's?
Absolutely. I asked him at that point, am I being detained? And he said, yes, you're being detained. And
wow.
Absolutely.
What a tyrant, man. Wow.
Absolutely. And we had done nothing wrong. We had walked 200 feet from the car. And so...
so you weren't even fully on the Capitol grounds yet, were you?
Absolutely not. So
it's doubly illegal because you could have had a regular firearm there.
And make no mistake.
Wow. Whoa. Wow.
Now, when he says he's alarmed by my revolver, 1858 ball and cap revolver, again, I've got 2 AR-15s on my right and my left that they never talked to, fully loaded. And they never talked to those guys. It was just me. Anyway, he eventually let me go with the warning that I was going to be arrested if anyone was alarmed. And we walked...
Wow.
We walked 2 or 3...
Land of the free, home of the brave, boy, I tell you.
Absolutely, and we were outnumbered 5-1 at the Capitol.
But they're alarmed.
They had set this up to have extra force, and they were prepared to arrest us the moment we got there. And so we walked another few blocks. We were trying to get to the south side of the Capitol because one of our fellow members had already been arrested, and I'd got the call that they had been arrested. The media was over there, and they needed me to get over there. So we were walking. 2 more troopers intervened me just before we got to the south side. I walked by them and kept going, and they stopped me and brought me back. And they said, you know...
By the way, that's all illegal. They have no reason to be stopping you.
Absolutely.
And they're there. It's official oppression, false imprisonment.
This is true official oppression.
Yes.
They absolutely knew that I was doing was legal, or they would have arrested me and disarmed me from the word go.
Oh, you absolutely have them. The problem is they don't care. It's just more taxpayer money. They'll just write more old ladies tickets for the lawsuit you win.
Absolutely.
So you got to get them fired.
So they stopped us, warned us again, asked me to put my revolver in my car. I wasn't having a long discussion. I said, I appreciate you, sharing your opinion with me. I'm going to move on now. And so we walked another 50 yards, and a bicycle state trooper, who I saw talking to the 2 DPS officers that had just talked to me, came and stopped me immediately again.
So I guess he said, if you won't arrest him for no reason, I will.
Well, yeah. I take my glasses off because I'm a very cooperative person. I'm not going to give you up my right, but I'll have a conversation with you. At this point, I'm not wanting to have any more conversations. I took my sunglasses off and I said, if I come across as you disrespectful, don't take it personal. I'm done being harassed. I'm not cooperating anymore. I said, I saw you talk to those 2 DPS officers just 50 yards behind us. And now here you are again. What do you want? He said, well, can I have your name? And I said, I know that you just talked to those guys, so you've got my name. Well, I need you to give it to me.
Terry Holcomb, who got arrested at Rachel Malone legislative aid, they're really getting scared of the First Amendment. They know that we're showing people that it's not illegal, it's not dirty, it's not bad. I want you, Terry, to finish up with the arrest that took place that's on video that radio listeners can see on the site. But then I want to get Rachel's take on all this as well and find out where you guys are going. And then I want to get you on for an extended hour-long special report sometime this week coming up on InfoWars Nightly News.
Okay, well, I mean, to sum it up quickly, basically because I wouldn't submit to their scare tactics, and that's absolutely what they were. They were trying to scare me into submitting to giving up my right.
Well, it's racketeering.
Absolutely.
Because if you try to outside law make somebody do something like, hey, that's a nice watch on the train with a bunch of guys, that's racketeering.
Absolutely. And this is the important part. They were ordered to arrest me. I was specifically targeted. They were ordered to arrest me. It wasn't because I broke a law. They wanted me.
Why wasn't it the guys with the AR-15s?
That's exactly.
Why did they arrest the disabled veteran? Is it like something about veterans that makes them mad?
No, what makes them mad is we're starting to get traction. We're starting to show them that they're not the only ones that can have guns, and they can't tell us we can't have them. And if they're going to try and legislate us out of it, like they did, which Rachel will talk about in a minute, we're going to go and we're going to protest it.
So they're scared of America.
100%. They do not want us having guns.
So like a child is afraid of like goblins and vampires. They're afraid of John Wayne and George Washington.
According to the arresting officer, he said he was alarmed by my cap and ball revolver with 308s and 223s and 5.56s fully loaded, mags everywhere, 40 calibers, 9mm, 45s, everywhere around, and he was alarmed by my black powder pistol.
And then they admit they know the law, they don't care, so they put you in the police car. Yep. What happened once they took you to jail?
They booked me, and the sergeant there insisted on making sure that the arresting officer put on the report, be sure to state that you were alarmed. They probably were alarmed. So if I'm alarmed by an illegal checkpoint, what am I supposed to do? Absolutely. And what I guess 1775 Lexington Concord. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what they're looking for. I talked to my attorney today, and right now I can't open carry my black powder revolver. My rights effectively been taken away from me. So they've totally violated your God-given rights, your civil rights, everything else. Absolutely. First, second, fourth. Well, they spy on us without warrants. They run Al-Qaeda without, I mean, they do whatever they want. Oh, I'm sure they know me very well by now. I'm sure NSA's got me pegged pretty quick. Well, yeah, but they're all committing crimes. So Rachel's legislative aid, yeah. All over the country, they're freaked out by folks marching with guns because the sheep see that. I mean, I got a buddy had them call them because they saw a gun rack. The realtor saw it and called the cops. I mean, people think guns are illegal. And you terrorists are showing folks they're not. How dare you? That's right. Well, see, the way I see it, Terry's arrest did not come out of a vacuum. This has been a major issue. It brought it to the forefront to bring it to attention again, which is we need to keep this at the forefront. But here's what happened. This past session, there were a lot of gun laws, gun bills that were filed in the legislature that would have significantly enhanced Texas firearms freedom. Well, a lot of listeners may not realize Texas is this great bastion of gun freedom, right? No, we're not. Wrong. Aren't we like 10th or something? Possibly. I don't think we're one of 5 that don't have open carry laws. We're right. There are only a few other. But I mean, on average, I've seen statistics that we're like, there's like 9 states with better laws than us. It depends on exactly how you evaluate it because there are a lot of different laws to look at. But Texas is one of only about 6 or 7 states that does not even allow any open carry of handguns. It does not qualify a black powder pistol as a handgun, so it's free. Yeah, and they're openly planning to make us a red state. They've said that. We're going to salute Mao when they're done. There you go. So we have all these gun bills, right, that were filed. There was great public support. They were going along nicely until they hit the picket fence. Representative Joe Pickett of El Paso was appointed by Joe Strauss as a committee chairman, and he had a committee that would have voted that bill out. A lot of those bills out of his committee. So Pickett is an enemy of America. He's Absolutely. The first one. He's the first. Well, he refused to let these bills come up for a vote in committee, just to vote on. So Pickett of El Paso is King George III. He's also a puppet. Right. So he was appointed by Joe Strauss, correct? Who's a Speaker of the House. I'm sure those bills were sent there on purpose to die. So Joe Strauss is also largely responsible for this. David Dewhurst, who tries to hold himself as this great liberty supporter of gun rights. Oh, he's an absolute tyrant. That's the truth.
And he's also largely responsible for a lot of...
Well, I hope he loves killing the TSA bill and all this. That's why he's not going to be governor. That's why he is not going to be senator. And when we're done with him, he's going to be nowhere. He is a piece of filth.
Right, so then we have Pickett, we have Strauss, we have Dewhurst. What about Perry? Perry could have acted. He puts himself forward again.
Well, he's blackmailed. Yeah.
Right. So he refused to call a special session, which was his right and his responsibility, really. As
but he wears a cowboy hat and waves guns around on TV.
So he's the biggest gun rights supporter.
By the way, why is he always in public waving handguns around?
So that he can ignore the citizens being violated.
But technically, they're saying don't open carry a handgun.
Because it could be alarming. But of course, it's not alarming to... You know.
Man, this sounds like total tyranny. I mean, Texans ought to be ashamed to have this going on.
So we have our highest ranking law enforcement official in the state of Texas, Attorney General Greg Abbott. He's a wonderful gun rights supporter, right? So what's he doing about all of this? Nothing. His office has blatantly refused to take
Because they've told him, you'll get federal office if you sell Texas out and turn it into a globalist operation.
And we have communicated what's going on. This isn't an isolated issue. It's just this is the one that finally set the dynamite.
Oh, no, they hate you guys because you're effective. I'm always reading about Texans for Firearms Freedom and the Texas Rifle Association and all the great folks. They just hate your guts because you're trying to keep this state free, and how dare you?
Absolutely. And so Greg Abbott is aware specifically of all the arrests happening under 4201A8, which is the disorderly conduct.
Well, you know what the answer is. I mean, you guys should organize like 1,000 people with black powder revolvers to show up.
Let's do it.
It's coming. San Antonio, October the 19th, because San Antonio's taking the same stance as Austin, DPS, and the Capitol folks. We have an event scheduled for October the 19th at the Alamo.
Well, how about we're alarmed by them? I mean, I'm alarmed by SWAT teams and black masks and helicopters and all this stuff.
Make no mistake, I was alarmed yesterday.
Highly alarmed by this official oppression, by the tyranny, by the liberty being taken away from the people.
You guys sound like people that started the country. I don't know if I can even talk to scum like you.
Well, here's a message. We're not going away. I'm coming back.
Well, you know the answer. It's civil rights lawsuits. It's all of it. And they're going to lose. I mean, I've looked at the case. They're going to lose.
That's not all they're going to lose. We are going after the legislators. We're not going to stand in anymore. We're not going to say, okay, your Second Amendment, no. You're either constitutionalist or you need to get out of office. There's too many people out there pandering.
That's right. We've been losing the Second Amendment because we only try to hold the line. Offense. We have to win the whole deal now, win it all back now, or it's all over. And you heard Harry Reid. They're scared of the real Tea Party.
They are.
They're scared because we're taking America back, just like I told Piers Morgan. You try to take our guns at 1776 again. It's over. We're done. We're not backing off. Line in the sand, just like the Alamo. It's over.
And that is our motto for October 19th, line in the sand. But Texas has to be the final battle place. It has to be. We're the only thing that's truly going to be able to stand between us and the federal government. We're it.
Yeah, on April 19th, 1775, on the Lexington Green, the Redcoats, the British regulars marched up, and they yelled at the 80 people who were standing there.
Turn your guns in.
They yelled,
lay them down.
Lay down your arms, you damn rebels. Lay down your arms and dispersed. And what do? They chose to remain peaceful and peacefully dispersed, but Captain Parker told them, keep your arms.
And he said, and if they shoot first, then if it's a war they want, it's a war they'll get.
Yes. And that's where it's headed in this country. The federal government is out of control. And honestly, Texas puts on a good bit of makeup to make it look like it's conservative and that it's constitutional.
It's like a new coat of paint, but behind the wood is termites.
Absolutely.
There's termites everywhere.
And our state level government is infiltrated with plenty of Republican in name only. And it's starting to look like... Greg Abbott could be one of those, and he's running for governor. We know that Perry showed his true colors when he didn't stand up for the people and what's right. You have the biggest battle ever in how many years for the right of people to bear arms.
Well, there it is. We're going to be covering it. Get your guns and head to San Antonio, October 19, 2013, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Alamo Plaza. Oh, my, I got to go down there for that. Man, I tell you, it is good to know folks like you. And these tyrants want to keep pushing, and who knows what will happen. I pray for peace, but I prepare for war. And I certainly hope that the tyrants running the system realize we've been pushed around enough. And I could just say authoritatively, I salute your stand on the law. You were following the law, and you were arrested. The videos are up on Infowars.com, red linked. We had them reposted, shock video. Texas state troopers openly defy law to kill Second Amendment. And it's got the veteran being arrested, you being arrested, the guy in the wheelchair. people need to go check this out. They need to get this out and fight with the First Amendment to avert a new 1776.
Absolutely, because that is where we're headed.
The gentleman we have in here with us, Terry Holcomb, was arrested Friday. Jakari Jackson shot the video. It went viral and was picked up even by national news because he had a black powder gun, which was absolutely not illegal to open carry, but the police admitted they knew it was legal and said, we are alarmed. Even though this was supposed to be part of the Texas Historical Society event, the police said, we choose not to have him here with it, even though he's a board member of Texas Open Carry. And Rachel Malone is a firearms freedom activist and is a legislative director of Texas Freedoms, TexasFirearmsFreedom.com, a group dedicated to the preservation and protection of the Second Amendment rights. And folks, we're going to tell you about this after we cover the shooting today, what happened to them over the weekend, a veteran in a wheelchair being arrested. We have that video. Then we're going to get into something historic, the 19th of October. And I intend to be there or have a reporter there, bare minimum. They're going to have reportedly, it's estimated 1,200 or more, maybe 2,000 members of open carry groups are going to be open carrying in front of the Alamo. And they've tried to claim that's illegal down in San Antonio. But you guys have the land commissioner on your side who controls the jurisdiction of the Alamo through the Daughters of the Republic of Texas, which my grandma's part of. So it's good to have you guys here with us. We're going to break in a few minutes. I'm going to skip this network break to catch up on time because there's nothing more important than us not being disarmed slaves. Talking to you first, Terry, and then Rachel, who didn't get a lot of time to speak yesterday. What is your take on what happened today in that victim disarmament zone on that base where, contrary to popular belief, the military wasn't allowed to be armed because the bureaucrats can't trust them? And the Fort Hood thing, people weren't armed, so they had to get the police there. They said that wasn't terror-related. I think this will end up being terror-related, but just like the Fort Hood shooting, they won't say it is. What is your take on that? I mean, this is the reason for open carry. Here is, for listeners, we can show them on document cam. Here is the Los Angeles Times. Gun crime has plunged, but Americans think it's up, study says. At least 49%, that's on the low end, criminals using guns since 1992 because gun ownership has gone up. That's admitted. University studies, University of Chicago, and others. What is your take on what happened today? And then I'm going to get Rachel's take on that.
Well, just today is just more example of what happens in gun-free zones. If this was truly a gun-free zone, and I haven't gotten all the facts on it yet, it just truly...
It's partially gun-free. Only police can have guns. Yeah.
And we know how that goes. But, I mean, I believe that is the intent of our government is to create a gun-free society so that only them and the criminals can have them. Facts aren't relevant to the left. Facts aren't relevant to this administration. Facts aren't relevant to anyone that wants to take our rights. They don't look at the facts. And the fact is, this is a gun-free zone. And the only ones that are allowed to have them in police, and yet we still have 6 people that have been killed, maybe more. We don't know what all the facts are. Propaganda is very powerful, and people need to quit paying attention to the mainstream media because all that is false propaganda. Every
national study, people believe that there's an epidemic of mass shootings and an epidemic of gun crime.
And that has to come from propaganda.
It's the opposite.
Absolutely. And the facts, the true data say a very different story. All the mass shootings in the last 60 years, except for one, has happened in a gun-free zone. But nobody likes to talk about that fact. That's a fact. And people need to start paying attention to what's really happening and how it's really happening and go out there and get the right information and don't trust the mainstream media and, quite frankly, don't trust your government because they're not telling you the truth.
Now, that sounds like something the founders said, and I'm sure did you see 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, the Department of Defense put out their official training manual for even privates, and it says the founding fathers, including George Washington, would not be welcome in today's Army.
Oh, there's no question about that. No, they would be considered terrorists. And I'm very sure many probably consider all freedom-loving Americans terrorists, as we've been labeled by this current administration.
What is your take on this, Rachel Malone, legislative director for the pro-gun group here in Texas?
I think we need to take away from this story the fact that the government and law enforcement, it's not their responsibility to protect us. In fact, even if they truly wanted to and sincerely wanted to, they couldn't. There is no way, and it's not their responsibility. It is our responsibility as American citizens and our right to self-defense.
That's right. For those that don't know, under common law, thousands of years, it's not the police's job or the magistrate's job to go out and protect people unless they consciously know something's about to be committed. It's their job to bring you to trial, to the people, to the jury. It is not their job to sit there and keep you safe. That is the opposite of what they're supposed to do.
Right, and I think
they're supposed to keep your liberty safe.
Yes, I think that's a huge misunderstanding that Americans have today. It's part of the entitlement state where we believe that the government owes us everything, and so we start counting on the government for that. It's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility and right to defend ourselves and our communities. I have large sections on my website on TexasFirearmsFreedom.com just listing out facts of not only the history of the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms, the right to self-defense, but also how guns work. Statistics on exactly showing on your screen right now on guns in America and how effective it is when citizens have the right and take the responsibility upon themselves of defending themselves.
Go over some of those statistics. I mean, because you show the graph, but visualize how often guns are used to stop crime versus in crime. I mean, it is simply amazing.
Right. Well, I think you can see on the screens of how guns are being used by citizens, and it's very interesting to see graphically on that display there how many times guns are used in self-defense versus the small amount of time that they're actually.
Yeah, I used to go off the Justice Department's number of like 24 times, but now the new numbers are 80 times more often. It's used to stop crime than it's used in a crime.
Right, and if you look at the effectiveness of citizens defending themselves versus police officers, citizens have a much better track record. I think if you scroll a little farther down, you can see the rate of hitting an innocent bystander much worse on the police record than on the citizens' record.
Well, you know why? The cops have more engagements, so they're going to have a much lower statistic because they're constantly in and around things. But generally, when a citizen goes ahead and pulls the trigger, somebody's busted down their front door, somebody's trying to carjack them, you're right there. The guy's assaulting you, boom. I mean, that's why you're going to have better numbers, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. I was very surprised when I first went and looked and took a look at the numbers. You might not believe this, but about 5 years ago, I would never have sat here and told you these things. I didn't know them. I was not anti-gun. I just didn't know any of this, didn't really think it was effective for citizens to carry guns to defend themselves.
Well, that's another issue. It's not just the heritage or how America was founded or the fact that slaves are disarmed. Once you discover and once you find out that it's the opposite of what they're saying and that anytime they take our guns, a tyranny is set up, and then once you learn that they know guns are making us safer and want us to live like D.C. and New York and Chicago, it makes you mad and you want to tell people.
Right. And so when I went and looked at the facts with a very open mind, actually almost trying to prove the other side, I realized just how effective it is, what a right and responsibility we have, and how important it is for us to keep that liberty. And that's why I think stories like the stories come out today, the stories that happened in Texas this past weekend with Terry getting arrested, it's important for us to see those and realize this liberty is being infringed, and we must not sit back and watch it being infringed. We must not wait for anybody else to take action. We must step forward as citizens. Now,
I never aired the videos yesterday and the audio. Most of our audience is radio, probably 95% of it. We send out video streams to prisonplanet.tv members, and later it's put on YouTube. But for the main radio audience, we should probably repost that article, the same article that's been up since yesterday, to Infowars.com, to the top of the page so that everybody can go see these videos. And then I want to get into the whole Alamo situation coming up and then take phone calls for folks that are calling in about what's happening. Alex in Kentucky on shooting and ammo shortages. JD in California, friend got caught up in ATF sweep. We're going to go to Burt in Texas, dove hunters near school arrested. Gary in Texas arrested at Capitol Friday. So is that the fellow who was in the wheelchair? And one other guy got arrested too. Do you know Gary up there?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to go to Gary actually first here in just a moment. Then we'll go to Alan and others, or we've actually already talked to Alan. So thank you for the call, Alan, and your info there from Florida. But right now, let's get into what happened to you, for those that don't know, on Friday, and why this is such a big deal.
Yeah, and I'll keep it as brief as I can so we can and move this along to the Alamo event. We had set up with the Texas State Preservation Board and the leaders of the DPS State Capitol Police to have a very small event. We had originally wanted to go inside. They didn't want to let us inside. They don't believe that openly carry armed citizens are safe.
So I think the Texas Capitol should be a big gun.
It should be the place that is the most free to carry in. Absolutely. But We went ahead and agreed that we would have our event outside. They agreed with us to allow us to have it outside on Friday. So I showed up and we parked, and I didn't get one block. 3 DPS officers were waiting on me. They had 50, 60 DPS officers spread out everywhere. They set us up, is what it amounts to. And they intentionally targeted me to arrest me. There's no question about it. Before I was ever able to get to the Capitol, I was stopped 3 times by 3 different officers.
Now, had you telegraphed that you were planning to carry a black powder pistol?
No.
Well, I mean, you know they tap into the NSA. That's on record that local police even do that now.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's an NSA issue here. This is very illegal.
According to the NSA, it may be, but according to the Constitution, Texas Constitution, and the state laws, it's very legal. One of the biggest... No. I'm saying it's illegal that they were spying on you and knew that you were planning to bring a handgun, as they call it. Absolutely. I think one of the things that people really need to pay attention to is law enforcement is making up their own laws. That we had given them the statute. They read it. They didn't care. The law did not matter.
That's like the NSA. It's illegal. Torture is illegal. Secret arrest is illegal. They still do it.
Absolutely. And I think people are not paying attention. I think unless it hits on their front door, they don't understand that it's real. I'm not quite sure I understood just how real it was until I experienced what I just experienced. And if it's going to happen to me, it's going to happen to all of us at some point.
Well, it's a monopoly of force. The government doesn't want its food armed. That's a lot harder to catch and feed on. And, of course, you're a board member of Texas Open Carry, but you're also a pastor, a guy with no criminal record. How did you start now to go down this path where you're an evil extremist?
Well, with me being a pastor, the left, the liberal force has tapped into that.
They're not liberals, authoritarians.
Authoritarians definitely don't want their pastors believing in the First or Second or Fourth Amendments. They believe we should be sheep, that we should succumb to whatever they tell us to in the name of peace, love, hope, and joy, and whether we like it or not. And, I believe it's a pastor's responsibility to tell the truth. And the truth of the matter is, once they take our second, they take our first. And when they take our first, they take our freedom of religion. Once they take our first, they take the freedom of me being able to preach the true word of God. They would want me to preach their version. And so it's a snowball effect. And I, as a pastor, am going to stand on the second.
They want, it defends all the rest, as you know.
Absolutely.
They want to make the state God. They say that. Everything else is evil. The family, men, women, everything's got to be changed so that we're all homogenized and they can control us.
And our current president was speaking directly to me when he says they cling to their guns and religions. He has no idea how much I cling to both. And,
I can't imagine what it's like, because I don't live in fear. People say, oh, why do you have guns? You must be fearful. It's the opposite. I love being in a neighborhood where everybody's armed, and I can look at the crime maps. There's literally like no crime because the criminals are all scared to death. I live out in the countryside.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so good that I'm red-blooded, and you know what? Even I didn't have a gun. My dad brought me up to not back down, and I've been in quite a few fights. I'm not proud of getting in fights, but I'm proud that I can stand up for myself. I can't imagine what it must be like to be brought up to be a coward, and if somebody comes to attack you, you just get on the ground in a fetal position.
And that's what they expect you to do. They expect you to either play dead or ask them nicely to leave, and somehow they're going to adhere to that. I think it's also important to note that, there's a very specific reason that they want to take our guns, and I don't think people understand that. But
we, the people, are the media. And when we see things that are wrong, when we see things that are going on, it's up to us to point it out and not leave it to the, quote, experts and specialists who 9 times out of 10 have been bought and paid for. It is time for the real media, we the people, to take action and to get involved like my 2 guests have done. Now, we have on the line, we've confirmed it's him, we have Gary Hayes, who was also arrested this weekend, a wheelchair-bound veteran for having a black powder handgun, I'm told. But we'll get the specifics of that. And more people, thousands, are planning to show up at the Alamo, where the police have told them they're going to arrest them. So a showdown there, ladies and gentlemen, of historical and biblical proportions. But the good news is the land commissioner is trying to block the police from violating the law. But what's creepy is that they were at a meeting with the state police last week before this happened, and they said, well, you'd be alarmed having teachers armed in schools. It's alarming to have anybody but with a gun but us. And I tell you, the state troopers, I used to know a lot of them, and I still know some. Until about 10 years ago, they were completely different. It is like they're hiring them out of San Francisco or something. I mean, it is creepy. Creepy. And they've said they're going to make Texas a blue state. And I'm not even for the Republicans either, because they're a bunch of rhinos. But, man, I'm telling you, folks, they're bragging on CNN that they've got Texas. And I think they may. I think they may. Because, I mean, this country is in so much trouble. And they've imploded California, so they're all running here. I know a lot of good Californians, but a lot of Californians don't know why they lost their job. They don't know why they've been forced to come here. They still want to come here and tell my wife you shouldn't have 3 kids at the store. That happens to her routinely. Tell my wife you shouldn't have paper bags, you know, when you leave the store. Tell us we shouldn't drive an SUV. What are we supposed to stick our kids in? You know, one of your little tin cans so they statistically get killed on the road. It's amazing what this country's turned into. So we're going to go back to them and your phone calls here in a moment and talk about the Alamo event. But first, some of our great sponsors. There's some real scum in the alarm industry. You need to protect your home, and you need to do it right. Don't ever sign a long-term contract for a freebie alarm again. Get the best home security in America and save thousands a year with my friends from Simply Safe. No long-term contracts, no hidden fees. You get 24/7 protection for less than $15 a month. Get my special discount plus a keychain remote, $25 value free. Visit GetSimplySafe.com. GetSimplySafe.com. That's one word, GetSimplySafe.com. And don't forget Supernatural Silver, ladies and gentlemen. SupernaturalSilver.com has a giant line, they're an industry leader, of amazing colloidal silver products and many other types of silver products. Pathogens are increasingly resistant or immune to other treatments that are out there. You need to get the arsenal of silver in your life. I use Supernatural Silver with a little spray bottle when I have a sinus infection, knocks it right out when nothing else works. And you can get a 20% off at supernaturalsilver.com with Alex Says, with the promo word, 20% off with Alex Says. And then briefly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm up here like a machine, 3 hours a day on the radio, producing films, running the magazine, doing all the other work we do here at InfoWars. And we do all this because you support our sponsors and you support InfoWarsStore.com. You buy the books, the videos, the Pro Second Amendment T-shirts, the Pro Pure water filters at the lowest price with promo code WATER. You vote with your dollars free will. We don't take your money like NPR or MSNBC that gets taxpayer money. We are supported by you buying these super high-quality products at the lowest prices, the books, the films, all of it at InfoWarsStore.com. So please visit the site today and shop with the good guys. You can also call toll-free and ask for a catalog or ask any questions about specials and discounts. 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. Now, going back into the bad news, and this is just like Sandy Hook, the number just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we've looked it up and found military personnel complaining on blogs about a very draconian anti-gun policy on the base that only MPs and private security could have firearms on this giant D.C. compound. I mean, no kidding, it's in D.C. And we have confirmed, and I've got Kit Daniels working on it, that, and I didn't know about this with the Law Enforcement Safety Act of 2004 expanded in 2010. I didn't know that base commanders had been outside of law nixing that, and that a new law passed last year, this year, 2013, a rider on the National Defense Authorization Act ordered the commanders to stop doing it and said anybody who is in Army security or any other military security or any type of other specialist or any retired former specialist in security can be armed on bases. That's bare minimum. We trust our military to fight for our supposed country, but they can't be armed. I mean, this is ridiculous. And for me, this is a big scandal. We're going to be covering on the nightly news tonight with all the documentation. But I am seeing people saying that that was the policy on the base. We've got to confirm that and nail that down. But that's big news here. Because every mass shooting but one in the last few decades has been on victim disarmament facilities. If you can't trust pilots to be armed, if you can't trust the Army to be armed, who do you trust to be armed? I mean, this is really getting to be ridiculous. A pilot could fly that plane right into a building. Now, I've been ranting, breaking that down, but 12 dead in Navy Yard shootings, 1 suspect dead, manhunt underway. Will they find him in a nearby city and shut down maybe D.C., maybe Baltimore? Maybe shut the whole country down and search all our houses like Boston. And notice this keeps happening in disarmed big government areas. Now, going back to Terry Holcomb and Rachel Malone, who are here with TexasFirearmsFreedom.com, and Terry is a board member with Texas Open Carry, who was arrested Friday. I want to get into the big open carry coming up and go to calls, but I want to bring up right now Gary Hayes, and we're going to show some of that video for TV viewers. If you're a radio listener, go to Infowars.com/show. You can see the free video feed right there on the site, and you can see the veteran right there. Before we go to him, tell us about Gary Hayes. We know you got arrested outside the Capitol grounds with a black powder ball and cap handgun, and they admitted it was legal. They didn't care. They're God. Tell us what happened to him, and then we're going to go to him.
Actually, he had gotten word that some of his fellow patriots, myself and another gentleman, had been arrested. And, you know, of course, he's a war veteran, and so he had decided to come down and defend us. He come down and decided to take a stand, and he brought his black powder pistol down. And, of course, DPS continued to make up the law and decided to arrest a second war veteran, and this one a paraplegic. And they ended up releasing him, oddly enough, without any charges or anything like that. But we're just getting word today that it looks like they're going to go ahead and press charges on him. So he may be able to confirm that more than we can.
That's right. They've got to do that because they know there's no law. So they've got to falsify it and I guess say that it's a firearm because people don't know. You think Texas is free. We're one of the only states where you can't open carry a handgun.
And I think they're going to continue to press this issue. I don't believe they're going to back down, and we welcome the fight. I encourage them to try and take our rights. I encourage them to try.
Show us the tyrants you are.
I mean, there's a reason that we're going to take the battle to the Alamo, and there's a reason that we're going to bring the battle to the Capitol. And there's 4 words, and they're true words. And every freedom-loving Texan needs to listen to this very carefully. Our message is simple. Come and take it.
And that's what founded the state, so that's bad.
Yeah, we're not going to give them to you. You're going to have to take them. And, you know, just because you say you're a police officer doesn't give you the right to make up laws. And we have a right, according to God, according to the Constitution, and according to Texas law, to have these weapons and to open carry them. And whether they like it or not is irrelevant. And what's happening is police officers are being given way too much authority.
I've heard the Austin police chief say, even if a cop's wrong, their order is God.
That's it.
Common law, common sense says you don't have to follow an illegal order.
That's correct. The DPS, we talked to the head guy at DPS, and he said the buck stops here, and I said we're going to order the arrest for open carrying of long guns. And that came straight out of his mouth. And we were like, who can we talk to?
By the way, they really are delusional now. They're pulling not just the women in Dallas, the women in Houston over with no probable cause. They're doing it a lot now where they actually, and we're such animals, they don't even change gloves, which is a serious issue, obviously, for women. And they're doing proctology exams.
Yes.
I mean, this is getting scary. These people are crazy.
It is getting scary. And again, people don't think it is happening to them because it's not on their front doorstep, but it's happening all over the place. And we've got to look and we've got to rise up. And people don't understand what that really means.
That's right. We've got to rise up. We also, something else I'll bring out, we've got to look at the actions of people like Attorney General Greg Abbott. We've spoken with his campaign, with his office, and we're looking for action from him, not just a statement released on his position necessarily, although that could be helpful.
He needs to expose the lieutenant governor and the governor blocking bills that have overwhelming support to bring open carry to Texas.
That would be good. Also, at this point, he's the highest-ranking law enforcement official in Texas. He can file an injunction preventing these arrests.
He can order the director of the DPS to stop it and to move to North Korea.
There is absolutely a lot that he can do within his, maybe not quite that, but there's a lot he can do within his current.
What do you mean? Listen, if the Attorney General starts hauling in the head of the DPS, oh, yeah.
There is much that he can do. So we're looking for action.
Where's Governor Perry with the head of the DPS?
That is, out of all the people that we would have expected to hear from, we would have expected to hear from him, and we know that he's aware of it. I am personally extremely disappointed that he hasn't come out and spoke out on my behalf and the veterans' behalf that have fought for this country. I'm shocked. Even know that I know that he's not a true and blue Second Amendment, freedom-loving supporter all the way like we want him to be.
Sure.
I gave him more credit than I see today.
Well, I mean, I've seen him in public waving handguns around.
Absolutely.
He arrest the governor.
Right. It's really easy to put pictures out on Facebook of, the candidate shooting or saying they love the Second Amendment, but what really matters is...
Well, here's the deal, folks. It's not we're just obsessed with our guns. If they get those, everything else falls. That's a historical fact. But I want to go to Gary, but specifically, for those that don't know, you cannot open carry a handgun in Texas when there's only a few other states that are like that. Yeah, 5. Very shameful. But you can open carry ball and cap, and they knew it was ball and cap. They knew it was black powder, and they said, we don't care. We don't like it.
That's exactly what they said.
So if they don't like how my hair is combed, I'm going to jail.
It might be alarming. You never know.
I find their behavior alarming, and that's why we're taking action.
Very alarming.
I was very alarmed myself, and honestly, you can't see it on the video, but I was very afraid.
Now, let's go to Gary Hayes. Gary was they said arrested. It was in the news. They arrested one other gentleman. I'm going to talk about him, and then they were putting him in an ambulance last time our cameras left, and then now they released him, but now they want him arrested again. And sir, tell us exactly what happened to you and where this is going. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Gary, as a fellow evil patriot.
Hello, Alex. How you doing today?
Good, buddy.
Well, things are changing from every minute, but I was arrested Friday for carrying my black powder. It's kind of strange how it all came about. I mean, I'd gone to the Capitol to try to gain information as to why my fellow patriots were arrested, and I had talked to several different troopers and over a course of maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and when I finally was able to get them to let me talk to a supervisor, I talked to him for a good 15 or 20 minutes until he noticed my black powder revolver that I had on my seat next to me in my wheelchair. I mean, I was very careful how I went up there. I mean, it was definitely put to where it wasn't displayed. Where you could see it, obviously, otherwise they would have already seen it. As soon as he saw that, though, he told me he was alarmed. And
okay, so now if you even conceal it and it's black powder and legal, they arrest you. I mean, it's a club that only they want to be in. And I think it's shameful they're trying to convert police over to these North Korean Gestapo types. Now, what about the new news that they may come out and rearrest you now?
Well, yeah, I spent 24 hours in the Travis County Jail, and of course I am a quadriplegic. I'm not a paraplegic. I do have paralysis in all 4 limbs. They had me in a regular jail cell, and I had problems the whole time because of my disability. I wasn't able to get water. I wasn't able to. They basically just threw my food at the door like I'm supposed to get up and get it. So anyway,
how did you become disabled?
Well, it was in a car wreck 10 years ago. I broke my neck in 3 places, and so that's how I became disabled. But anyway, they were well aware of my disability, and when they arrested me Friday, one of my concerns was, am I going to be going to jail, obviously, but are they equipped to handle me physically and my needs? And I was told they were. Well, I was put on the medical ward, which was basically like any other jail, except they had a lady that came around and took your blood pressure.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, look, all the criminals are outside the jails. All the patriots are in the jails under this system. Are you going to be down there on the 19th in San Antonio at the Alamo?
Yes, I plan on it. Yeah, I'm not going to miss that. I'm limited as far as sometimes traveling. I have to make arrangements, and because my disability, it's hard for me to get out on my own. But I definitely have arrangements to go down there. I try to go to every event I can.
Well, great job, brother. We're going to watch this as it unfolds. But finishing up the points that you're making about all this and what's coming up with the Alamo situation, there's only a matter of time until the police shoot people that are at an open carry. Yeah. And now you're at Lexington, you're at Concord, and I know Homeland Security is spoiling for a fight with the American people. It's set up for that. But I've looked at the numbers. They're going to lose. They're crazy. And I hope that they understand what's happening. But you were making the point there, Rachel, that this is bullying. Talk about that. Absolutely. This is bullying. Even if the charges don't necessarily stick, even if Terry fights this and wins the case, he's been bullied. He's been terrorized through official oppression. And I'm guessing their hope is that people will see this and back off and stop carrying their black powder pistols. And that's why you don't see rifles in racks anymore. The cops come after you, even though the rifle's legal. It's all intimidation, and they know it. Exactly. The answer is more people doing it and them getting sued, so they get intimidated by liberty. Exactly. So don't be bullied into letting your rights be infringed. Look at them harassing the Tea Parties with the IRS. Oh, absolutely. It's all bullying. They're a bunch of bullies.
And a lot of people don't understand what official oppression is. The Texas Penal Code has that under 3903. You know, a public servant acting under the color of his or her office of employment commits an offense if they intentionally deny or impede another in the exercise or enjoyment of any right, privilege, power, or immunity, knowing his conduct is unlawful, or intentionally subjects another.
If a cop showed up at a busy restaurant and said, "Get out of this table, I want to sit here," that'd be official oppression. Absolutely. But if they arrest you for your gun, that is felony level official oppression. That is false imprisonment. That is enslavement. That is a civil rights violation. That is racketeering, because they all agreed. That was a mafia.
It was.
And they're all sitting back laughing. They're going to laugh later when we take this country back.
They are, and we are going to take this country back. The people are just now starting to wake up. They're coming out of their coma. That I think the
Are you seeing that happen?
Oh no, we are definitely seeing that happen. We're getting more support. We're getting more people involved. We're having more questions being asked. You would be surprised at the people that have no clue that we can conceal carry, let alone open carry a long gun.
The average person that isn't from Texas or something that comes to your house, if they see a gun rack, they call the cops.
We had a lady asking Chick-fil-A just down the road here just a little while ago, "Do you have a gun in you?" "Yeah." "You're allowed to carry that?" People don't know. It's like they live in some bubble, and they have no idea what's going on.
Well, that's because the media thinks everything revolves around New York City. I mean, all the shows are based there, basically, and every show, the cop pulls you over, you got a gun, you're going to jail for that.
Well, TV is their greatest weapon.
Yeah, we need people waking up to realize the value of liberty, to realize what's being taken away from us, and to realize they can't just sit back anymore and watch and hope that somebody else fights for them. We need large numbers of people mobilized to turn out for rallies such as the one coming up. We also need large numbers of people mobilized to make phone calls to these offices, to email, to show up, to be involved in the legislative process.
That's right. They're coming for your guns. They're coming for your First Amendment, everything. How big is this going to be on the 19th? Give people the time down at the Alamo, open carry, and the land commissioner is saying that he's going to stand for the Second Amendment, correct?
Oh, absolutely. He is going to put out, from his office, a public notification that we are having that event, and he is approving it.
This is so historical, and I just want to say I salute what you and others are doing. You are the modern, real civil rights movement fighting for all of our future, because if they can pull the keystone of the Second Amendment out, it all falls.
It absolutely all falls. Everything hinges on the Second Amendment, the right of the people. And they are trying to take that right to further their own agenda. They absolutely want to.
It's criminal. They're trying to rob us.
They absolutely are. And in closing my comments, and then I'll let Rachel finish us off. We can't emphasize this enough. Get off of Facebook. Get off of Facebook and get out there and go to work. If you want to take it back, you're going to have to physically go do that. And we're at a pivotal point in Texas. We're going to either lose it or we're going to take it back. And what people do matters. We can't be sheep. We can't be timid. We can't let them bully us. Even if we're afraid, we can't show fear. We have to go to the front line, and we have to tell them we're not going to stand down. And we can't do this by ourselves. you know, I'm going to go and I'm going to fight my fight for my family and for my rights.
Did you see how aggressive they were to my reporter who was being polite in his face, threatening him? I mean, that cop's...
He was extremely aggressive, and the only reason they weren't that aggressive with me is because I wasn't doing anything. I was letting them arrest me so that the people could see what was going on.
And then they didn't want us to tape it.
No, they didn't want you to tape it. They didn't want no reporters on there. He wanted to get... That was a very, very terroristic tactic. Rachel?
Absolutely. You know, we need more sheepdogs. We need more guardians of liberty here. We need more people who understand it and study it and know how to stand up. One thing you can do for people who are in Texas, you can sign up at texasfirearmsfreedom.com, join the alarm list. I'll send out updates whenever we need action, which isn't all the time, but when we need it, you'll have information on what you can do.
And there are folks fighting in all 50 states right now.
Absolutely.
And the enemy knows we're getting the momentum. They're scared.
Absolutely.
And in closing, October the 19th, San Antonio at the Alamo, starting at 10 o'clock, we are having a draw a line in the sand event. And then Jerry Patterson is going to be there. We're going to have 800 to 1,200, possibly more people, because it just continues to grow and grow. The San Antonio chief of police has stated he don't care what the law is. We're going to arrest him anyway. And we're drawing a line in the sand and saying, you're not going to bully us.
And I think everybody should show up, say, at about 9:45, so just everyone converges at once. It goes, what 10 to 2, right?
That's correct.
Everybody converges at once so they can't stop everybody. And I think we should have 10,000 people down there.
I agree.
I can't believe the police chief says, I don't care what the law is. I don't care if the land commissioner says this is state land. You can't stop them. There's not even a law against this. I can't believe that police chief is so bad.
Well, he's no different than what just happened in Austin. They're just being a little bit more sneaky about it. So I'm going to go ahead.
They're really all feds. Absolutely. They've been federalized.
And I'm going to go ahead before we close and put Austin on notice. Expect us come November. Once we finish the October event, we're going to be planning one for Austin. So Mr. Sneed, Mr. Ortiz, Commander Ortiz of DPS, Governor Rick Perry, State Preservation Board. Just understand, we're coming to the capital of Austin, and we're coming with thousands of people.
Wow, it's just amazing that Arde Saveda, the police chief's dad, ran guns into Cuba for those enslaved people. And now Arde Saveda is towing the line with Obama saying, take our guns.
And if we don't stand and fight back, that's exactly what's going to happen.
I mean, I told him, I don't think you're a communist, but why don't you move back to Cuba, man? Where only the government has the guns.
Or here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to give all those folks the northeast side of the country, and I'll even give them California if they want it and leave the rest.
That's a great idea. How about if you're anti-gun, you move to California or you move to New York?
Let's just go ahead and split the country in half. Or I'll even give the libertarians a third of it. All right, we'll split it in 3. And that way we can all enjoy the freedoms that we so want.
I'm going to live right on the line with the conservative and libertarian area. So I want to be bad, I can step right over.